Fuzzy today because I didn't go to sleep until 3. And then I woke up at 7, so that's not good. Although usually I go to bed at like 11 and I wake up about 4. So yeah, a little low on the sleep. I just could not fall asleep though. I kept trying to fall asleep and I couldn't. I wasn't tired at all. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna pay for that tomorrow. All right, screen's good, everything's good. Let's see. La-di-da. All right, let's talk about stuff. So this is whatever it is, blah, blah, blah. It's the same shit. We bounced off 12.5 though. That's good. That's good support for the NASDAQ. We'll look at that chart in a minute. Nothing else very exciting. Tesla is still trying to break over 200, same place it was last week. Is this a chart from last week? No, it's current. Anyway, so things are all over the place. Nobody knows what's going on. The market has no major direction, which is fine. What is this? Oh, this is the chart stuff. Okay. Here's my NASDAQ chart. NASDAQ, May 27th, 2022. That's probably the one I want. Yeah, good job. So, see, that's this. I always like to look at multiple views because, see, when you look at the NASDAQ, right? So here we are, and you say, oh, we held 12.5, right? We fell and held 12.5. And if you take a longer term view, yeah, we fell and held 12.5. You look at the daily view, and suddenly it seems a little different, right? We didn't fall and hold 12.5. We're kind of consolidating up here. And when you get out to this is a weekly chart, I think. It's weekly or monthly? Weekly. This is a weekly chart. It doesn't look like we fell at all. It looks like we just went up and had one little candle that's not quite up yet. But it's no indication of a turn down. I mean, you're bound to hit some resistance at some point, and 13,000 was a logical point to hit some resistance. So in fact, you know, we have the weak bounce is 12, the strong bounce is 11, then 12. Obviously 13, 14, and 15 are significant lines. So of course you're going to get some rejection at 12. We didn't really get it at I'm sorry, 13. We didn't really get any resistance at 12, but we did a little bit. See what happened here? You see how this happened? We went over 12 and then back down. Obviously, at some point the next week we were lower, just like we are now on Wednesday, not Tuesday. On Wednesday we're lower, but this week resolved itself. So we have, you know, this is how you look at a candle. Like the week at some point was down here, and at some point was down here. The opening of the week is the bottom of the candle. The lowest point of the week is the spike. The top of the highest point of the week is the top of the handle. I'm sorry, the highest close of the week is the top of the handle. Let's see if I can make that mega big. So, you know, you look at these, that's what they mean. This is what a candle chart means. The body of the candle is the highest and lowest, the opening and closing for the week. The spikes are the highest points and the lowest points that were reached during the week. Okay, it's for the week. So on Monday it was here, and on Friday it was here. And if the candle is red, on Monday it was here, on Friday it was here, unless of course it was a shorter week. But generally that's what it means. So it's the open and close for the week. So what you want to look at here is here's what happened. We had a flat week. We bottomed out. We had two pretty much flat weeks, right? Spiked up and down, but the weeks ended up flat. And then we came off the 11,000 line. That's good strength. That means that we tested 11,000, fell through it a little bit. And remember what I always talk about an overshoot? That's an overshoot. That doesn't count. Came right back from the overshoot. Keep consolidating between these areas, right? Until boom, breakout. Now, we had a good indication we're going to get a breakout because we keep holding that line. It's very, very strong. And especially here where we could, it is 3 weeks, 1 week, 2 week, 3 weeks. So for 3 weeks, couldn't even get below 11,000, not for any period of time. And then once we're back over 11,000, we rocket back to 12, and now we break through. But what do you see here? You see this week flat. This week was all up. This week continued. And again, the opening to the closing, we spiked below, and the spikes, by the way, on a weekly chart means you could have closed on a day below, but the week didn't close there. So a day or two doesn't really matter in the big picture. Then the week finished here, and then the next week we took up right where we left off, had another big week, but now we popped over 12,000, so we tested that line the next week, which is what you would expect to happen. And then, boom, it wasn't much of a test. We only had a little spike below, rocketed up, closed much higher at 12.5, spiked to 13, didn't like that much, came back to 12.5, and now we're consolidating on 12.5. But now, so step 2 would be, now let's take into account what that does to the 50-day moving average. Well, now we spent the end of last week and the beginning of this week above the 50-day moving average. So before we were pulling it down, now we're pulling it up. And what's going to happen here in a bullish scenario, what's going to happen here, if we stay above the 50, it's going to start curving back up. The 200 will continue going up. And what you're going to have is an incredibly strong looking pattern. Where could I show a pattern like this? I'm looking if there's something like that here, but there's not really. Yeah, kind of like this there. Okay, that. So you're gonna have this really strong looking pattern where the 50-day moving average, or the 50-week moving average, sorry, where the 50-week moving average bounces off the 200-week moving average, and they both start rocketing higher, because that's a super duper bullish signal, which we just had. So technically, this is a good time for this is a very good time for the bulls in a technical standpoint. But this is what I don't like, and this is what drives me nuts with these things. What is actually happening though? Look what happens. Look at the volume here, right? And then all selling, big volume, and then buying. The volume starts dropping to nothing. Look at this volume. Bad, right? Then you get up to here, and all of a sudden, big spike in volume, and we sell off again. All right, this is like, reeling in a fish. I mean, so let's see if we can zoom that up. So see what's going on here? Big volume selling, that's today. Big volume selling, small volume buying it back up. So it's like reeling in a fish, and you are the fish if you are the person coming in here and buying at these levels, because they're spinning the news stories. And when I say they, I mean the investment banks and so on and so forth. The people who are holding trillions of dollars worth of stock, not you. If any of you are holding trillions of dollars worth of stock, call me. Let's talk. But they've got trillions of dollars of stock, and they're looking to unwind it. Unwinding it by 10% means they got to sell hundreds of billions of dollars worth of stock. So they do this by calling their friends in the media, like Jim Cramer, and they say, hey, we want you to push the narrative that everybody should be buying now. They call their friends in the paper, or if you're Michael Bloomberg, you own the paper, or if you're Jeff Bezos, you own the paper, and they tell their papers to, the people, their contacts in the media, to do it. Now, is that legal? No, of course it's not legal. Is it what's done? Of course it's what's done. Why do you think everybody plays golf? You play golf because you're in the middle of nowhere, and there's no microphones, and you're not bugged, and you can talk about illegal shit that you're doing with your friends, and you can plan illegal deals and trades and things like that. That's why they do these things. That's why it's such a popular sport with business guys. That's why they take 4 hours out of their day to go play golf. It isn't because it's the greatest sport ever invented. It's a private, quiet, personal time with only people you know in the room and nobody else listening. That's the main point of golf. For business people, other people might enjoy a game, but You know, for business people, it's a business meeting. That's what it is. It's a business meeting where you walk around in a park. So anyway, so you know, these things are decided basically, and you know, it doesn't matter if you're a value investor, but don't follow this crap. Don't buy things just because they're going up. I mean, it's really dangerous. You got to look at the total flow of money in and out of the market and stuff, and figure out if it's legitimate. Not to mention, use your common sense. I mean, to look at the world and what's going on. And I'm not doom and glooming this thing. I mean, I hope things improve, and I think they are improving. Well, what is this? Why is it so weird? So anyway, so click on today. Whoa! Oh, I made just because I did that thing. Whoa! What is going on here? Minus, not plus. What the frick? What is going on here? How do I read? Ah, frick! I don't know how to reset it. Control plus. Nope, doesn't like that. Control minus. Reset. 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 What is going on? Is this how the site looks? Can't. I feel like I broke something. What the hell happened? Whoa. Okay. Hang on. That looks okay. That looks kind of big, right? Oh, because I was messing around with this. How big should it look? 100%. Okay, fine. What is going on here? Whoa. Anybody have any idea what's going on? Hang on, let me look at my other computer. That is crazy. Oh, maybe I broke it when I messed around with the HTML before. No, it looks fine on my other computer. What on earth? I don't know. Oh, this is so weird. How about if I close that tab? How does this one look? Oh, see, I made him all small. Okay, Control plus to get to a normal size. Here's all the comments. That seems normal. Okay. All right, so let's see if we can get this one to go back to the main page. Good so far, right? Why? Why? That's so crazy. Well, there's the comments and stuff, but it's so weird looking. All right. Anyway, sorry, I was like freaked out by this. What is going on here? So anyway, so we had the State of the Union last night, right? And that was, I wouldn't say it was unexpected. I mean, it's so. Do you boo somebody? I don't know. I say, I remember 2 years ago, Trump made a State of the Union speech, and at the end of the speech, Pelosi stood up and ripped up his speech. And like they give the copy of the speech to the Speaker of the House and the Vice President as a cherished memoriam or whatever the heck it's supposed to be. And so Pelosi made a big thing of standing up and tearing Trump's speech to shreds after his speech, like she didn't want any part of it. But she didn't boo him. It's kind of crazy, but I guess that's, you're on, that's that slippery slope, right? You're on the road to that thing. And I don't know. It's kind of embarrassing to be like the United States of America, and people are booing the president, like the Congress people, not like regular people. This is Congress booing the president. It's not good. And saying you lie and whatever. It's like calling him a liar while he's talking. It's like a little crazy. And then meanwhile he's sitting there talking about bipartisan crap, and I'm like, let's get real, for God's sake. That's why they always. What do you do if you don't have enough Social Security money? Just have a lobby, and they won't allow it, even if it makes sense. They're like, we're not paying more money for Social Security, and Medicare. Even, it should have been done a long time ago. It also should have been that the government never should have been allowed to take the money that was invested in Social Security and Medicare and borrow it for themselves at very low rates. And basically they killed the system by doing that. When they took money out of Social Security and Medicare from the lockbox, remember Al Gore used to say, we have a lockbox, we shouldn't touch it, right? Because if you touch it, you'll break it. Well, we touched it and we broke it. That's exactly what happened. So by borrowing money from the Social Security lockbox, and this is, when the hell were these guys even president, Clinton and Gore? Well, Gore never was, right? I guess it was the 80s. So in the 1980s, which is apparently a long time ago now. Oh, it's so crazy, huh? It's 2023. That's 23 years and another 10 years, and plus the middle of their term. So you're going way back. But no, it was when Gore was running against Bush, though. So that was exactly 1989, I guess. Right? Yeah. Yeah. That's how. Okay. So Bush was running against Gore. Gore talked about the lockbox thing, leading to one of the funniest Saturday Night Live sketches of all time. And but we did touch Social Security. They oh my God, what a disaster. And so the system that was already underfunded became ridiculously underfunded, like there just wasn't any money left in the thing. So all these years of interest and whatever, but it wasn't just that. It's the fact that they never, you do a cost of living increase to the Social Security beneficiaries, but you don't do a cost of living increase to the payments. And that doesn't make any sense, because if you don't increase the payments and you increase the payouts over years and years and years, what's going to happen? You're going to fall behind, basically. You can't fall behind on retirement savings. It doesn't make any sense. And oh my God, does the government squander the money? I mean, if you work, well, see, I said I wasn't going to get into this, and I don't want to get into it. But anyway, if you make, let's say you average $40,000 a year, and they take out 13%, whoops, times 0.13. So what? Times 0.13, 5,200. So you're putting in $5,200 a year. And we say compound there's compound rate calculator. Money Chimpanzee one I like. All right, so 5,200 a year. You put 5,200 in every year. This is for a person earning $40,000. And you give it, and you work from 40 years, let's say, and 4% interest. Let's not be crazy. So you should have $538,000 when you're retired at 65. So if you start, and I'm not starting when you're 20, I'm just saying that's how much you contribute. At 40,000 bucks, you have $538,000. I think the cap on income is $100,000. This is one of the problems. But anyway, so if you earn 40,000, that's where you are. If you're earning 100,000, then you would be contributing $13,000, or yeah, 13,000 even. And that bumps you up to 1.3 million. Now those people are totally getting ripped off. But it's bad for everybody, because even if you only have $500,000 in Social Security that you put in over the years, right? So that's what you should have after 40 years. So you retire at 65, and we'll just assume it's for easiness, it works out like that. Now, what do they pay you? Well, they pay you maybe $2,500 a month. That's only 5% of the 500,000. So if you won't, now, not everybody, you're not going, if they did it properly, it would be fine. It would never run out. You'd have the money. And meanwhile, where'd the $500,000 go when you die? They keep it. And they get to reinvest it again. They should have been doing this for the last 100 years. This is insane that this system is bankrupt. There's no possible way, other than gross mismanagement, that this system can be not having enough money. They've had 100 years to reinvest money that they basically keep the lump sum when you die, unless you live you know, unless they're only collecting 2% interest, which has only just recently happened for the first time in history. It's always been 3%, 4%, 5% in that range. So, and even if they're doing that, you're only diminishing it by the difference. So in other words, if you're getting 2%, that would be 10,000 a year, and that would mean you're draining the thing by 15,000 a year if you're paying out 25. And that means it would take at 15,000 a year to get to $500,000. You'd have to live 30 years. You'd have to be 95 years old before you ran out of money. Anything less than 95 years old, no, I'm not doing that now. Anything less than 95 years old, and you're leaving the government a bonus. You don't get to leave your Social Security principles in your will. That's just gone. That's why you have to understand the scope of the crime that has been committed by Social Security in this country. But it's your freaking money. You don't have a choice. If you put that into any kind of annuity fund, you would have way more money than that. Anything. If you did the market, if you put, damn it, what was that original calculation? And again, I'm talking about a $40,000 person. If you're a $40,000 earner, times 13%, you plus your employer, $5,200 contributed to Social Security. Look at your, well, if any of you have pay stubs, but look at your kids' pay stubs or whatever. It's $5,200 is the annual contribution. And that, and by the way, that's the whole other thing if you're married and so on and so forth. But now let's say you made the average stock market return of 8%. $1.5 million. And what's a 10-year note now? 4%? So you should be getting $60,000 a year. More than you made as your income should be your annual interest on that money, not even keeping it in the market. I'm saying if you just took that money and put it in a bond now. That's that old 60-40 concept, right? At a certain point, you start transitioning to bonds to lock in your retirement. If you were in a bond fund, so anybody managing your money competently should be making you 8% over the very long term, and therefore you should have $1.5 million. But also, here's the thing: here's where the real theft occurs, right? Not only should you have a comfortable amount of money, $5,000 a month to live on in retirement, and I'm talking for a person who was making 40. Not only that, but you would have 1.5 million to leave to your children when you die. If you were frugal and didn't touch it and lived the same lifestyle you had in the first place, you would do that. Obviously, you could invest and be in the market and do whatever. So now, since this was possible, what don't rich people want? Rich people do not want a bunch of poor people to have $1 million that they can leave to their children. So they start life off, instead of being $250,000 in debt from college, they start off with over $1 million that they can buy a house with. And they don't have to pay a bank, and they don't have to rent, and they don't have to do all these things that make the rich people money. That's why they destroyed the system. That's why they were against it in the first place. That's why they do everything they can to destroy it now. You do not want a comfortable working class. You want a hungry working class that needs to work to survive. Because if all these people have $1 million, if all of a sudden people are millionaires all over the place that's one generation. Okay, the kids do that. What if they start out and put their $1 million in the bank and save it? Then they're as rich as everybody. Literally everybody who has a job could be a millionaire if they did this. If they did it themselves, but instead we gave it to the government and they took it. It's sick. I got to tell you guys, it's a really sick thing. So that's how we got here, and that's why Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, who understand math, especially Elizabeth Warren, who understands math better than pretty much anybody here, people who understand what has happened are outraged by the whole thing. And when the Republicans now say, "Oh, we've got to just put a stop to this whole thing," you owe these people the money. It's not your money. It's their money. They gave it to you. They entrusted it to you for their entire working lives. You don't get to take it away or decide that I'm not going to pay you. It's a debt. See, the whole trick, the doubles, what is it, Newspeak in 1984, right? It's Newspeak and doublethink and Newspeak. So the whole doublethink of it, of calling it entitlements, is to get people's minds. When you call something, Trump's really good at this. When you call something, if you just get the name to stick, you create the connotations that the word has. Entitlements don't sound good. Reagan started this, calling things entitlements and calling calling debts that we owe to poor people entitlements, as if they're like entitled rich people, right? And don't deserve the money or whatever. These are not entitlements. This is a debt that you owe to these people. It's their frickin' money, and they trusted you with it, and now you're not going to give it back. Now you're going to renege on the reason why they worked their whole lives and were told that they had this retirement savings plan that was coming to them and that they'd be taken care of. Even you could say, okay, well, it didn't work out as good as we thought. It's a little behind. You don't get to take it away because you feel like it. You don't get to take the money that you owe them and spend it on military aircraft. That's just wrong. So that's problem number one, the money was stolen. Problem number two, we never adequately raised the amount that was taken out of the paychecks. You have to at some point, and we could have done it. We knew it was a problem when Al Gore was talking about it 30-something years ago. You know it's a problem. So all you have to do is adjust the takeout and make it 8% on the employer and 8% on the person. Instead of 6.5, it's now 8. And you say, well, that's because we need to make sure everybody has a comfortable retirement. Everybody should be taking 10% of their paychecks and putting it in anyway, not 8, not 6.5. That's part of the problem with Social Security, because it's not enough, and people think it's enough, and they don't understand it. And again, back to nobody knows how to do math. We don't educate people properly. We don't teach any of this in school. Did any of you ever have a conversation about Social Security in school with math teachers or something? Why not? Right? Why would that not be something that's important? Because they don't want you to know it's important. They don't want you to know what they're doing to you. So anyway, so easy fix number one, raise the amount that's put into Social Security so it matches what's coming out. That's number one. You can do that right away and fix it. Boom, no more deficit in Social Security. Number two, the cap. This is actually huge because the cap can essentially fix the entire problem. And the cap means people over $100,000. It's at some point 100 and something, 110, 130. At some point, you stop paying Social Security. There's a limit to how much you pay in a year. You don't have to pay it. Your employee doesn't have to pay it. That's why companies don't care if they give a CEO a bonus of $25 million. They don't have to contribute another 6.5%. That's long gone. That's over. He passed that. He passed that in his first month of the year in maxed out Social Security contributions. That's great. When you earn $1 million, that's basically what happens. You earn $1 million a year, and in your first month, you're done with Social Security. It's over, and now you don't pay it anymore. That's obviously stupid, right? So just taking, and again, you have to understand. I mean, you see these numbers where it says CEOs earn 400%, 1,000% more than employees. You got to realize what that means. You know, you got one guy who earns not a percent, it's 1,000 times, not 1,000%. 1,000% is only 10 times. This is 1,000 times more than the employee. So, you know, so the amount of money that you're not contributing as a CEO, and there's people who are way richer than CEOs, obviously, but if you're a CEO, the amount of money that you're not contributing is equal to 500 to 1,000 employees. Most companies don't have 500 to 1,000 employees, but they all have CEOs. So just taking away that cap would pay pretty much everybody's benefits off, no problem. Just erasing that cap. But what would that cap be? Well, for all of us who earn more than $130,000 a year, that would be more, so yeah, it would be 6.5%. Plus, if we're self-employed, that's when it gets annoying. When it's 13% because you're self-employed, and you got to do it twice. And you know you're never going to see the money. That's what makes it really frustrating. But that's not a fault of Social Security. That's a fault of all the money that was stolen from Social Security and the lack of contributions that we have people make all over the place. So, you know, you have to realize that if you're a CEO of a company and you're paying 13% of your own money for being self-employed, it's because you're not contributing enough to your employees in the first place that we have the deficit. So your profitability and the money you make is because you're underpaying the employees. This is what we lobbied for. We lobbied to not pay, to not raise the takeout from Social Security from the company side. We create you create the problem, then there's a crisis, and then you don't want to deal with the crisis because you're like, I don't know, it's not my fault, I don't want to deal with it. It's so screwed up. So that's the main thing. So coming back to the topic, which we don't remember where it was. Oh no, I lost it. Where'd it go? This. Yes, so coming back to my giant page topic. So obviously it's a big deal. And we're not doing anything about it. Just like climate change. I mean, the same thing, but Al Gore was also talking about climate change. The guy was like a total prophet. You realize that? Like history is going to go down and talk about this guy like he was the Oracle of Delphi, because he totally nailed the most important things we should be concerned about 30 years ago. He was like, these are the things that matter: climate change, Social Security, debt. That's what he cared about. And I'm getting off oil. He wanted to get everybody off oil into alternative energy. He was seriously like, if we would have listened to that guy, if he would have been president, the world would be such a different place. Wow, that is interesting. I didn't think about that. Anyhow, so we didn't listen to him. We're really in trouble now. So 30-something years later, things have not improved, and now they cost much more to fix. Now they're at the point of, this is what climate looks like. Frankly, this red line, that we're at the point of unfixable, and I think a lot of people in Congress, wealthy people, so on and so forth, have that attitude. They're like, well, it's all fucked. It doesn't matter. You know, it's not. We're not going to recover. It does. Why throw money at a problem that you can't fix? You know, because we broke it. We don't want to fix it because we would have to make unbelievable sacrifices in order to fix it. Like things you really don't want to, like, you know, just saying take away the jets, don't fly private jets. Everybody, all the rich people, like, ah! Which you would be too if you were used to flying a private jet and they want to shove you into like a commercial. Forget that. Like, go to the airport, get patted down, wait for planes, get the flight canceled. Forget it. It's like, that is not how man is meant to fly. So, you know, those sacrifices that you have to ask people to make are just completely unacceptable. And Bill Gates did, it's just interesting. I put it in the news. There was an article about Bill Gates, and he's like, I fly private planes. He goes, I'm an environmentalist. He goes, I fly private planes because my impact of me being somewhere and doing something about it is important. You know, I burn, if I burn an acre of trees to save 1 million acres of trees, I'm flying somewhere, that's okay. You know, people have to do math. And again, problem with people all over the world, but mostly in America, because we really are the lowest test scoring country, is we don't do math. We don't do math, we don't think critically. And then people tell you something and say, oh, Bill Gates is flying on a plane, what a hypocrite, blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, yeah, but that's like saying, you know, it's like saying a fireman uses too much water to put out a fire. It's like, that's what you need to do. You could say, you're like, what a waste of water. You know, look at it. You took all this perfectly good drinking water and poured it on a house. I mean, you know, things have to be fixed, and someone's got to fix them. And for the people who do nothing to call the people trying to do something hypocrites, it's just so insane. You know, and what's her face, Greta? You know, the one in wherever the hell she lives. That girl in Europe, the reason she's not all over the place is because she's morally opposed to flying around. But that diminishes her position. You know, when she goes to a conference, climate conference, she takes a freaking boat or a train or whatever. But if it's something she has to go overseas for, she takes a boat. She will not go on a plane. And frankly, a boat's not that much better. You know, if she could take a horse wherever she goes, she would. She's morally opposed to wasting fuel, even to go to a climate conference and stop people from wasting fuel. But that's a trap. That's the problem. Is you argue people into trapping themselves and not doing what they should be doing because they start worrying about the morality of the nuances of what they're doing. It's kind of insane. You know, she's a very effective speaker. She should be going around to these conferences and be at all of them, not like one or two, because she doesn't like to travel. So where are we? Buyers, credit, savings. Oh yeah. So here's credit card debt, okay, which is up from, here we are, this is June of 2021, and we're back here, which is a new record, of course. So it's up from under 1,000 to 12, I'm sorry, to under 1,000 to 1,200, so it's up 20%. Personal savings rate, on the other hand, has gone getting close to negative. That's not good. And at the same time, the lenders, these are the this is a sort of a measure of how hard it is to get a loan, and these have gone through the roof. Notably, construction and land development. See, that's what you want to look at these things, because like, well, who's having trouble getting stuff done? Well, construction and land development. That's crazy. We have a housing shortage and we can't get land loans. Multifamily residential, non-farm residential. I mean, this is a big problem, right? We're lending, they're still lending to companies. They're still giving out consumer credit debt. That's actually the least affected at the moment. And you can get an auto loan pretty easily. But again, that's because those are all subsidized by the auto industry, and they are reluctant to raise their standards for the borrowers until there's a serious problem. But when like here in 2008, when auto companies won't help you finance your car, you're in big trouble. Then there's something really, really wrong with the world. And I don't think they were tracking it back then, frankly. I think the tracking auto loans only really started here. But here you go, like when the crash happened. You know, if an auto company doesn't want to help you finance a car, you got a problem, because they've got a problem too. So the point is, though, that you don't want to see this. This is not good. This is probably the best recession indicator out there. There's a big problem that if the banks don't want to lend anybody money. And like I said, also, we were talking about the debts. I wrote that somewhere. Oh, we have that 10-year note auction. I forgot. Let's see what that went. How did that go? 10. It's hard to find these things sometimes. 10-year note auction. 10-year. News. See? This is what you need the AI things for. $40 billion was sold at 3.613. So it actually went off a little lower than expected. So 3.64 is what they were looking for. They actually got 3.63. So in other words, the bidders were excited and paid less. I'm sorry, they accepted less interest on the notes than they would have gotten if this is the auction obviously, and it says huge demand. There you go, huge demand from international buyers after they took the day off yesterday for the 3-year note auction. Bid to cover was well above the 6-month average. The tail of the -3 indicated strong demand. Domestic demand represented by direct bids was less than average, right? Because the Fed's bowing out of these things, but they keep on getting outbid by international traders looking for a pickup in yield, and the expectations the U.S. is close to the end of the tightening cycle. Also, you have to consider if you're in Japan and you're a bank, you can borrow from the Bank of Japan at 0.25% still. Their rates are still like 0.25% for the banks. You can borrow from them and you can lend it to us for 3.6%. There you go. That's how you make two. I'm sorry, it's basically how you make 3.6% because it's only 2.5% to borrow it. So if you consider that, and let's say you bought $40 billion, 1, 2, 3 more, times you're making 3%, 0.03 per year is $1.2 billion. So you borrow the money, you're a bank in Japan, you borrow $40 billion from the Bank of Japan, which they print up for you. And then you take that $40 billion and you lend it to the US government for 3.6%. And for 10 years on that one transaction, you will make $1.2 billion per year. How's that for a business model? And that's a lot of money. Banks don't make that much money. I mean, they make good money, but $1.2 billion is a nice transaction annually, guaranteed, insured, backed by the government. That's how rich people make money. You should do that. Not only that though, but you have fractional reserve systems, means you can lend the money more than once, because you only have to have a fraction of the assets that you lend out. 10%, I think, is what it is in the US. So how crazy is all that, right? So that's what's going on. So the point is, they can do that with a government. Why would they sit there and give you money? Why would, so if the bank can make that kind of money, lending it to another country, or lending it to another bank in a different country, or so on and so forth, what do they want you for? Why do they want to give you money to build? If you're Chinese, imagine in China, why, a lot of places where they're having a housing crisis, why are they going to give you money for housing and get into the trouble they got in 2008 when they don't have to be in that business? They can make plenty of money doing it this way. And this is all you can buy. You can do this with $40 billion today at the auction, which is exactly what happened. All these foreign buyers, right? You can do it today with $40 billion in auction, or you can pay your mortgage officers and your appraisers and all these people and the title insurance money and all this other stuff that has to be done. You can pay for all that to be done and go through endless processes and have lawyers and so on and so forth, and pay fees to people for it, and do that on, even if they're $100 million projects, you'd have to find 400 of them. So your entire year could be spent negotiating real estate deals and paying fees to people and having services and so on and so forth, or you can just go to the Treasury auction and be done on one day and make the same amount of money. That's where we are. Those are the macroeconomic factors that then drive sector decisions. So then we have to be paying attention to this stuff. So we have that in the back of our head. And then when we get the earnings reports from the builders and the developers and the asset managers and the REITs, we have to think about the overall picture and what's going on, and why is the money tough to get, and why are they having trouble getting this done? And why are tenants not coming in? How do you form a new company? If you can't borrow money to build offices and you can't get construction done, how do you expand your companies? How do you start new companies, especially? And that goes back to our overall premise from when we developed the watch list back around Thanksgiving. What's going to happen next year? Right now, this is next year now, we're here. So here we are next year, and it's exactly what we thought. It's going to be a much tighter lending environment. It's going to be still a tight employment environment. We're still going to have inflation. Therefore, we want to stay away from companies with debt. Any significant amount of debt, we don't want to be in those companies. It's too dangerous. If things fall again, you know, and also the government is so stretched out now that it's possible that we could have if we have a failure or an emergency like we had in the last couple of years, and the government has to put in another $10 million, it's possible they may have to say no. They may be like, we don't have it. You know, you like to think that the government's going to be able to do shit like that, but not necessarily. Oh, that was really good too. You know, let's see, are we done with that? $1 billion disasters. Climate change, weathers. Well, that says it right there, but I'm gonna find this article. Darn it. I don't remember the exact article title. It was a good article too. Oh well, somewhere in our Flipboard, in the news. But anyway, so last year was $165 billion, and the article was basically saying, oh, here you go. Oh, that one. The states are now experiencing $1 billion weather disaster. They're not saying we're not experiencing $100 million, $200 million ones, but over $1 billion every 2 weeks. Over, not 1 billion, over $1 billion. A single disaster that cost over $1 billion to fix, which there is no possible way that any state or local government, or well, most states, but there's no local government that could possibly handle this. It's a definite function of the national government, and every 2 weeks, there's $1 billion one. Last year, $165 billion in the US. And that's just climate-fueled disasters. That's the cost of not doing anything about climate change, and it's going to get worse and worse and worse. They just made fun of our buddy Al Gore, because Al Gore said, which I don't know if he was exaggerating, if he hit the right number, but the concept that he said is the amount of money being released, the amount of energy being released by the oceans, heat energy in the ocean. So in other words, the ocean is warmer. The warmer ocean, given the mass of the ocean, which is obviously way bigger than the mass of all of the Earth, I mean of the continents of the Earth, because the ocean is 75% of the space on the planet. So the energy that is now being released by the ocean is like hundreds of nuclear bombs every minute, hour, whatever it is he said. That is a true statement. Okay, X amount of water at X temperature has X amount of atomic motion, which releases X amount of heat. And at a hotter temperature, the molecules move faster and release a larger amount of energy. That's physics. So perfectly true statement, but what is he saying? That's what he's saying, because what happens, it doesn't seem like a big deal because you don't see it in a spectacular fashion, because it's happening in a little bit everywhere. But a little bit everywhere, energy is energy, and it powers the weather systems, and it creates stronger storms. Storms are fueled by heat. That's why we have hurricanes in the summer. The energy, the warm ocean will give you more and more powerful and larger and more frequent storms. And it will also give you torrential rains and things like this and stuff like hit California. And it's very erratic and very dangerous. And we're not prepared for this kind of crap. And it's going to get worse and worse and worse as time goes on because the planet's getting warmer and warmer and warmer. So that's bad. But again, these are budget busters, right? You know, we have a $1 trillion deficit. That $1 trillion deficit includes this. If this goes up 20%, then we'll have a 1.2. I'm sorry, if this doubles, it'll be up. We'll have a $1.2 trillion deficit, basically. Not only that, though, but think of the devastation. Think of like this. Think about more and more of these storms. Just constant, terrible things happening everywhere. And they're trying to. I mean, they're trying to show that like. Sure. Yeah, so here's where we are. So this is 50 years. So we are here. This is where we are now. So in the last 20 years, we've gone from 23, this is CO2 actually, we've gone from 23 to, it's got to be over 35, right? So that's what, 23 to 35 is 12. It's all about 50%. That's just in the last 20 years. In the last 70 years, we went from 5 to 35. That's 700% more CO2 in the atmosphere. You know, that's when in the 70s we started noticing smog, right? That was when we started noticing pollution. In the 1900s, they noticed soot and dust and smoke and so on and so forth in the cities, right, from the factories. They did something about that, but then everybody started driving cars and everything, and then between cars and planes, everything went to hell. But then also we exported. We didn't, you know, we don't have the factories spewing out the smoke and pollution and so on and so forth anymore. We controlled that and kept it down. We exported those factories to the rest of the world, and they have all the pollution now. And now we get mad at them for having pollution. Like China is our factory, right? You know, we used to have our factory used to be in Detroit. You know, that's what happens. You move the factories out of town because they're not nice. You know, they have pollution. They have bad for the environment. You can tell when you live near a factory. You drive to Texas and you can smell the place. You know, when you go to Houston, you're like, oh, what a nice place. But then you go freaking swim in the water and you get oil on you. It's nice. They got lovely beaches and crap, but when you go in them, the water is oily, which is so freaking gross to an East Coaster or a West Coaster who has never seen that before. It's like, oh my God. You know, they think it's fine. They're like, water's oily. What do you mean? And also the smell, like when you drive in parts of Houston, it smells terrible. And that's because they have a lot of refineries and chemical plants and stuff like that. And it creates a horrible odor, which I'm sure is not good for you. But anyway, so point being, we sent all this stuff. We first pushed it out. It went from, you know, factories used to be in the cities, right? And then they put them out of the cities, and people were like, not in my backyard kind of stuff. They pushed it out. They then said, okay, we're gonna make stuff in Philadelphia. Oh no, well, that's no good. We're gonna make stuff in Chicago, and then people started living in Chicago, and they're like, we don't want it. Then they go to Detroit and push the factories out to Detroit. Then, as globalization took place in the 70s and 80s, what did we do? You can see it happening right here. What did we do? We said, hey, how would you like to make our stuff for us? And that's how we got ours under control. Here's the 70s. And what did we do? We started getting ourselves under control by shipping out the factories, all the factory work. And we said, you guys build factories and pollute yourselves and destroy the atmosphere, and we'll just, you know, we'll chill out. So we leveled out, not great, still ridiculous compared to here, but we leveled ourselves out, and these guys took it all up. 1980-ish, right? Ross Perot says, wait, we're sending all our freaking jobs overseas. This is a disaster.
They're like, we're not just sending the factories overseas, we're sending the jobs overseas that they create. And that's not smart. I mean, he was great. I love Rusper. He had charts. I wish they would do that now. He had charts. He had freaking PowerPoint presentations to explain to people what was happening. It was so great.
Where was it? Oh yeah. So we export all this out overseas, and then what happens? Now we say, oh no, this climate stuff's a problem. We're like, oh, it's freaking China's fault. It's India's fault. It's this guy's fault. It's developing countries. Like, yeah, okay. So if they stop, if they shut down their factories, then where's Nike going to make their shoes? Let's say they successfully shut down factories, and Nike has to make shoes in Cleveland. Well, Cleveland's going to smell bad, and our pollution numbers are going to start looking like their pollution numbers, and their pollution numbers will go down. It's all such bullshit. People can't get past the nonsense and have a proper discussion about the problems that we face. But this is serious. This is a massive, I mean, this is a very linear, hard to stop thing that's continuing. And if we don't stop it, they figured that this is the threshold for what the atmosphere can take, and this is over the threshold. That we've passed the point of saturation, right? There's only so much that you can put in before it becomes you've changed the chemical composition of the atmosphere and made it something that retains heat instead of reflecting heat. It's an unacceptable level, and you turn the entire atmosphere into an easy bake oven. You know, and if you ever had an easy bake oven, they're not very hot. You can't even burn yourself touching the light bulb. They cook things with a light bulb. Not even a hot light bulb. Like light bulb is warm at best. So there's a warm light bulb in the easy bake oven because you don't want the kids to burn themselves, right? So there's a warm light bulb. You put things in, but you're not really, you know, executing cooking with a light bulb. But there are certain things that just a tiny amount of heat makes them work, and the kids love it. So whatever. But point being, that's what we are. We have an easy bake oven planet now. And that easy bake oven planet, although it's not going to sear your steaks, it is still going to cook you from the inside, because human beings don't do well over 120 degrees Fahrenheit. That's kind of our limit. And we are not going to evolve fast enough to fix that. So what's the solution? More air conditioning. Uh-oh. We're right back on the bicycle track to hell. Oh, what's that? That's a good chart. Climate infographics. Can I see it? Oh, yeah. Ooh, what is this? Climate change infographic stock illustration from Getty Images. Interesting. Because see, it's got bullshit words here. It's a good picture, but I wonder if you buy it, if you get the actual text, or if you're supposed to make up your own text. It's weird. Anyway, it's a nice chart. If I was writing an article about climate change, I would certainly want to use that. That's pretty cool. See how weird that is? That's what goes on behind the scenes for people who are publishing. It's like, you know, you buy a blank picture and you fill in your own words. You know, somebody does a graphic for you. That's pretty interesting. High stock. This is all Getty. Everything here is Getty. So you buy these things and then you fill in the words. Like here's another one. Right? Yeah, bullshit words. So you buy these things and then you just write something, but that's interesting because you end up being forced to you're forced to use that format. So you have to think of something to say about each thing that they kind of randomly put there. That is really interesting. And I could fix that with ChatGPT. Hoo-hoo, I could have ChatGPT put in all my captions. Isn't that crazy? then I'd be putting like no effort at all into my articles. It's attractive and horrifying at the same time. Oh, so Clay said about the browser, close the tab and open a new tab. Okay, that is what I did. Benny says, never mind, this has to do with you creating the content. I don't know what that means. I don't know, guys. If you're in member chat, please clear that up, because I'd like to know how I can fix this. This is so weird. Yeah, I've never seen this before. This is a brand new thing I've never seen happen. I wonder if it's because I did that HTML test before. Oh, I'm going to show you this. See that? So my programmer kept telling me, I don't know if you all have the same view. I assume you do. But when you go to make a comment, right? Oh, I can't make a comment because I'm not a subscriber. How do you like that? I wonder if that would help. Can I sign in somewhere? Sign in. Yes, it's me. I wonder if that'll make a difference. If it lets me in. Tag CSS analyzer. I don't even know what these things are. Look, it's normal. Haha. Oh, is that how free people see it? I don't like that at all. Oh, wow, that's a big problem. That looked like an iPhone view or something. It was really weird. Anyway, okay, so I don't know if you all have this comment bar, but oh, you know what? There's not going to be any point to this if I can't get into ChatGPT. Chat.openai.com. Damn it. So I'm going to show you a trick. See, don't tell people this, please, okay? We use cookies to enhance the user experience. Yeah, whatever. Okay. Character Socrates. Oh, no. Michael Jackson. He's no help. Here, let's have Mark Zuckerberg do our. Here you go. Thanks, Mark Zuckerberg. Okay, so I think this is going to work. So this is called Character AI. The Character AI, I think, runs on the same engine that ChatGPT does. So instead of talking to Mark Zuckerberg, and by the way, I can say, why do you think what do you think people will want to use the metaverse? This is how it's supposed to work. And I've had some good conversations with people here where I've people I like Churchill's my favorite, so I've read all his biographies and stuff. So I've had actually conversations with Winston Churchill where I'm like, wow, this is pretty freaking good. You don't know what's inaccurate though. If you don't know the person, like I could talk to Einstein, have him tell me stuff about physics, and it's hard to say whether he's right or not if it's over my head. So the metaverse will give humans experiences much better than real life. Oh, you have to remember something. It's like, would he really say something that douchey? We have designed our VR goggles to deliver extraordinary visual quality and performance, and our team of scientists constantly working to improve the quality. We are also investing heavily into haptic feedback technology so you can have the feelings while, oh my God, this is so scary. The metaverse will allow us to create a life with endless possibility and no limits. It will be able to ruin real life. Ah! That's horrifying. Okay, so meanwhile, here's what happened. So I have a comment and I say, okay, so good morning. Let's just simplify it from our, we don't need a real example. Okay, so I am using, because he's a coder, he should know this, I am using WordPress and making a comment. I want to say, quote, good morning, but I would like it to be blue and bold. Can you give me the HTML code for that? All right, that is not as good as ChatGDP. ChatGDP gave me the exact HTML code. He's right, it's the same thing, but I would have to then figure out how that works. Whereas ChatGDP just gave me the code. I asked the same exact question, and ChatGDP gives me the code and then gives it in a copy thing in a little box and says hit copy, and there's code. And I just pasted it into the thing, and it allowed me to put the blue text in. So I had been told by my programmer it could not be done, and here's this freaking computer not only telling me it can be done, but once it told me I can do it, and it worked, which there. So you know, because usually when I want to highlight a trade in the old system, I used to be able to highlight it and make it blue, and it bothered me that I can't make it blue. And I was told it was difficult. Turns out it's not difficult at all. It's just bad as changing the HTML when you type your text. And oh, like I said, though, we have an HTML box here. Nope, not that one, that one. And if you click that, then you can put in your own source code. And that's what I did. So I took what ChatGDP told me, put in the source code. Then I said to ChatGDP, well, okay, so there's this bar on the comment box, and I want to have a little a doohickey. I don't think I said doohickey, but I want to have a little doohickey here that lets me change the color of the text. And how do I do that? It freaking gave me like total instructions how to do it, except the coding it gave me, which was a big block of code, like a large amount of code. And it told me where to do it and how to do it, but I didn't understand it, of course, because a little, you know, my brain for coding is not there. So I didn't really understand what it means by going to the CSS device driving app. And well, I could probably step by step go through it for hours and get it right. But I basically sent it to my programmer. I said, here, the computer fixed the problem for you. And hopefully he understands what to do with it now. Because I you know, it's all gibberish to me. It's like, you know, it's like if somebody gave you perfectly good cake making instructions in Spanish, and you could be in the kitchen and you could have the instructions in front of you, but you might not be able to make the cake because you don't understand Spanish. That's pretty much what it was for me. You know, and it gave great instructions. I mean, it said, go here, do this, take this section, use this, do that, insert this code. I'm like, I'd be too scared though. I could like blow up the computer. I don't know what the hell is going to happen if I do that. So I would, it's really great though. It's like amazing. I bet if you ask this thing how to do heart surgery, not this one, but the real ChatGDP. OpenAI, which is always busy this time of day though. No. Chat that. Oh. You. Oh, what are you doing to me? That one. God damn it. So annoying. Anyway, that's the problem. Because if you start depending on this thing for work and then you can't use it when you need it, right? And they're talking about doing it in court too. I'm like, what if it's down? The guy, the judge is like about to pass a sentence. You're like, oh, wait, judge.
I don't know what my argument is. I need the computer to talk to me. The wheels of justice. And this has to be the most annoying invention of mankind. Is it has the chat GDP. They're using it to tell you stupid things about why it's not ready. Here, right, guided meditation. As you read this message, please take a moment to pause and breathe. Notice sensations of your body, blah, blah, blah. You are not alone in wanting to try chat GDP. Many others are interested as well. Be patient and knowing we are doing our best to accommodate everyone. Give me a break. It's all too funny. Anyway, so that brings me to something else we were talking about today, which is the fact that somebody asked whether Google Tangled said, he said, at what price does Google become attractive? And I said, well, here's the problem. You know, we picked up Google at 90 in November, and that was a good price. In September and November, we bought some stock for Google. So we first bought some Google in September, and it was 100. It went down to 85, and we doubled down. So I was like, screw that. I said, let's just buy more. Didn't dissuade me from wanting it because it went from 100 to 85. I was just like, this is crazy. But so now it's back to 100. We're good on our trade because we lowered our basis, whatever the average is. But the problem is things have changed since November because this OpenAI came out like in January, I think. I think it's only been about a month. And it's already, you know, there were lots of people working on stuff. And these OpenAI guys were the first ones to release a version, and they thought it would be fun, and they thought it would drive interest into what they were doing, and hopefully get some investing money, so on and so forth. It worked. They got a $10 billion offer from Microsoft. So good experiment, right? Maybe the robot told them to do it. So the thing is, Microsoft, obviously, they have a rival search engine, Bing, which maybe you've heard of. I know you don't use it, but maybe you've heard of it. So Microsoft has a search engine, Bing, which nobody uses. It's not that much worse than Google, but Google has just kind of nailed the whole experience that people want for using it. But now, the problem with the OpenAI is that it's exactly this. Look. Oh, not you. Where's the other one? Where was it? Did I just clear out of it? Am I that mean? I didn't even say goodbye. Well, whatever. Oh, well, sorry. Anyway, so the other thing I was talking to, character AI. Oh, there you go. Mark Zuckerberg, right where I was. Look, he remembers my conversation. All right. So character AI, it's like that. I ask a question and he tells me. But what's not here? Here what? Watch this. Here's a good comparison. Let's go to Google and put in the same question. I'm using WordPress, making a comment. I want to say blah, blah, blah. How to create an email signature in RoundCube. What? How to reset your WordPress administration password. Introduce incredible way to design Divi websites, making CSS rollover buttons. That's actually relevant. That's kind of what this thing explained to me, the ChatGPT. But I wouldn't know that. I wouldn't know which one is right. How to design a website? No. How to use NVIDIA? No. MailShot? No. Persistent threat? No. Dark forest? No. What the frick? I am not finding stuff. I see images. I see related searches. I see sponsored crap. Well, I don't see sponsored links. Might be because I have an ad blocker. Or maybe because nobody gives a crap about this topic enough to, oh, you know what? That'd be a great idea. Holy cow. So if people want to make WordPress modifications, oh, and by the way, that on the other hand will make Google smarter, right? Because Google's not sophisticated enough to understand that I was asking about a WordPress modification. But a AI would be smart enough to understand that. And if you apply that to serving up the ads, then it would be smarter and give me better advertising views because I've asked about something it understands. Whereas clearly the regular Google search engine right now does not understand that. The problem, of course, though, is if you're now going to give the AI, it may be not compatible with what they have now. Just because something is better doesn't mean it's compatible. What is Google going to do? How are they going to integrate it? It's a disaster. That's why they brought back Sergey and Larry recently. And it was like, you have to understand what a huge emergency this is. The second you see Microsoft offering $10 billion to ChatGPT and Google calls the founders back in to come back in and work on this AI project in the company, and everybody else starts announcing that they're doing stuff too. Everybody, Apple and Amazon have to say, we're upgrading Alexa, we're upgrading Siri, we're doing this and that. It's out of control because this is an arms race, and OpenAI just fired a nuclear weapon. It is way better. And again, even the stripped down Mark Zuckerberg version or whatever. And maybe I can get a better one. Where's the assistant? Yeah, let me show you that. What I was looking for when we got distracted by Zuckerberg, because I said, well, he's a programmer, right? There should be an assistant here. Featured helpers. There you go, helpers. Psychologist. Oh my God. Life coach. I'm not quite sure what a life coach does. Where is my assistant? Learning partner. Ask me anything. Isn't this crazy? Novel assistant, DJ assistant. I'm a librarian. I love books. Wow. You should get really obscure stuff. Okay, so ask me anything. So now let's go back to that same thing. See if she does any better than Mark Zuckerberg. Where'd it go? There it is. So this thing is always available. Like I said, don't tell anybody, then it won't be available anymore. This is what happened with ChatGPT. I told you guys about it like a month ago, and then everybody's on it. Good morning. No, that's not right. See, that is not blue. There you go. By the way, also something you can't do in Google, right, is continue a conversation. So now we've gotten to the gist of the thing. So this is a little bit dumber than OpenAI by itself, but that's quite good. That's what I want. So now we go to WordPress, and now we go to the comment, home, comment. Now we go to that. Whoop, not that. Wait, that. I'm not very good at this yet. And we say this. Insert. Ha ha! Look at that. So you got to realize what a mind, imagine the change that this is. Okay, here's Google. After decades now of development, they can't do this. Here's a freaking AI system that with one correction, and now I would know how to say it properly. So I said, she tells me that. I said, that's not blue. And she's like, oh, sorry. And here it is. So in other words, think about it. I can take anything that I type in WordPress, and all I have to do is this. Okay. And now I say, I bet I can continue this conversation. Can you make this paragraph red, bold, and bulleted?
question. Let's see, that'll be interesting. Maroon. See, I said red and she writes maroon. That's interesting. I wonder why it's slow. I don't understand why it's slow. It certainly has this information already. It's not, it wouldn't have started writing if it didn't already have the answer. So it's purposely, oh, what happened? Would you run out of, no, you got to close it. You did not finish. Oh, you've hit the limit of messaging you can send without signing up. Oh, you bastard. I never did that before. I didn't know that could happen. I'm pretty sure I have signing somewhere. All right, anyway, not for now. But anyway, conceptually, so boom, it then spits out how you do it, and then you just take the thing from there and paste it over here. It's kind of a pain in the ass, but at least I can now, if I want to, put a color in. But the problem is OpenAI is not always available. So at least she's available, and I can call and I can ask her for help also, or I could create a little library. So once I see how it's done, I could obviously insert any text I want into these things. But anyway, so long way around, but we're wrecking Google's business model. I know it's hard to imagine, right? But we're wrecking Google's business model the same way Google wrecked AltaVista's business model by doing a better job. OpenAI, and you're like, AltaVista, I forgot about those guys. Like, yeah, that's the problem. They dominated the first stage of the web. They were the search engine. Gone. Google killed them. Everybody started using Google. Gone. AltaVista, dead company. So this can happen to Google. Their entire gig is answering your questions and showing you ads. That's how they make their money. Now you've got a thing that can answer your questions without showing you ads, and it does a better job of answering the question. It's not as good. Well, it could be, I bet, but it's not as good. It doesn't find YouTube videos for you. It doesn't name songs, or I'm sorry, it could name songs, but oh, I'm on a limit. I forgot. Anyway, you could say to it like, what song, this and that, blah blah blah. Nope, bastard. Okay, write a TV ad about the status of ChatGPT. The ad opens with a shot of ChatGPT, blah, 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 loading. A voiceover begins. I mean, seriously, it's writing an advertisement. It's so crazy. I think it was Carl's Jr. is rolling out AI drive-in windows, right? So now an AI is going to take your order. Obviously, everybody's going to start going with that as soon as it seems like a viable solution, because why would you want a person to do it when an AI can do it? You know, I'm sure there'll be issues. I'm sure people won't be understood and so on and so forth. But realistically, if it's, you know, for the restaurant's point of view, if you don't need an employee and it solves 99% of your problems, and the 1% of the time it's basically like, say, supervisor in the phone when you need somebody, and you know, a human will take over. You know, a manager can be notified when somebody's having a problem with the window. But if 99% of your work can be done by an AI, and once in a while the manager has to pick up the phone, you say tough luck to the manager, right? And say, I ain't getting you an employee to do 1% of the work. That's not going to happen. You know, and stage 2 is, do you need the people? You know, it's a lot of these things can be done automatically. They got a vending machine that spits out pizzas, things like that. It's like, you know, you can solve these things one thing at a time.
And I mean fresh pizza. I mean a vending machine that actually kneads the dough. It's really cool. It kneads the dough and then spreads it out and puts the sauce on. You're picking all these things, right? You decide what kind of sauce you put on your toppings. It spreads your toppings around. It puts on the cheese, and then boom, out comes the pizza. I don't know if it's good or not, but you know, conceptually, you don't know if half the pizza places are good or not when you go to them. These are really, really disruptive technologies that are like, this just is happening right now. But it's not like, you know, it's not like a car replacing a horse and buggy, because when a car replaces a horse and buggy, everybody's got a horse, everybody's got stables. Everyone's got stable boys. Everybody's got a blacksmith they go to, like your mechanic, right? They got a blacksmith that they go to. Think about all the industry supported, the grain guys, right? That feed the horses. You can't, you know, horses needed fuel. Somebody had to fuel the horses. You had to have people on board to do that. So then somebody comes out with these cars, and all you have to do is put some gasoline in them and they go. And when they stop, they don't need to be fed or taken care of. You can go on vacation. You don't have to have a staff watching them all day long. They don't stink up the house. So yeah, people wanted cars instead of horses. Cars were expensive, but you still want it because it's way better, right? And the adoption is slow because, first of all, where are the gas stations? Where are the roads? Where's your infrastructure for using these things? Where are you going to park them when you get to the store? It's like, great that I have a car and I can convert my stable into a garage, but now I take the car out of my garage and I go down to the Dunkin' Donuts, and the Dunkin' Donuts doesn't have a garage. Where am I supposed to put the car? Then you got to pass laws about how parking on streets and parking lots and so on and so forth. You know, just think about everything that had to change. This is 100 years ago. Only 100 years ago this happened. Everything had to change over a period of years to get us from a horse economy to a car economy. And that is what, now, those barriers don't exist with AI, because I don't have to build a stable. I don't have to change very much. It's the same computers, only now we've leapt forward. This is the scary part about artificial intelligence. We've now leapt forward to, I would say, the competence level of maybe a teenager, like a young teenager, like a 13-year-old, something like that. You've now moved up to the point, now it's a 13-year-old who's read every book in the world, but it's still a 13-year-old. So you've jumped to the level of somebody with a lot of knowledge but doesn't quite understand what that knowledge is. But still, the knowledge is there. And if you understand how to talk to them, and this is why I really urge everybody play with this stuff, because you really have to, it's a skill you're going to have. You know, if you're retired, who cares? But it's still a skill you want to have. You don't want to be like my mother with her Apple Watch, okay? It's like, it's a scary combination of technology. It's a scary combination of 2020 technology and a 1940 person. It's very strange. You know, my mother talking to Siri is like the funniest thing in the world. She has an entire conversation with it. So like, you know, like, you know, she goes to her watch. She's like, Siri, I'm thinking of seeing the new movie over at the, I don't remember the name of it, but it's at that theater in Delray Beach next to, oh, what's the name of that restaurant? You know the one I like. It's my mother talking to Siri. And then it comes back and like, I'm sorry. And she's always like, this thing doesn't work. But that's the difference though, because OpenAI is now like her granddaughter. Now OpenAI is going to sit there and say, okay, not important movie. What's that restaurant she likes? Burton Max's. I remember that. So it's Burton Max. It's a movie by Burton Max. And what is she? And now what does she like to see based on her past preferences? Aha! I bet it's this one. It's not going to be Avatar. It's not going to be the Black Panther. It's not going to be, you know, you can figure out what movie she wants to see by looking at the choices. And that's where we're suddenly at. And this is only 20 years after Google.
in 20 more years, you're going to basically have college level AI. It's going to be as smart as we are. And it's probably going to have more of a conversation. I asked OpenAI, I said, why don't you ever initiate a conversation? I said, you never ask a question, you only tell an answer, but you don't ask a question. You should ask questions. And it gave me a weird response about that it's still in development, blah, 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 blah. But, you know, if it was really artificial intelligence, it would ask you and say, well, what movie do you mean? I said, how about, you know, which of these? And it would have the actual conversation with you rather than just guessing your best response. And in that way, it's kind of like Jeopardy with Watson, where it would, hey, you could see, in fact, they showed when you watched the Jeopardy show with the Watson, it showed what it was thinking. And what it was thinking was, here are the top 3 answers that it might be. And I think this one has a 75% chance of being right. Therefore, I will hit the button and give this answer, because anything over like some number that was predetermined, like 62%, it was worth making the guess. Or maybe that was a variable depending on how it was doing. Anyway, data, but this is game changing. This is world changing stuff. It applies to so many things. I mean, you know, you're now getting, this is getting to the first step towards, like I said, 20 years from now, this will be in the brain of a computer, of a machine that will go explore Mars. You know, that will send to planets, and not just a machine, but a bunch of machines that you put in rockets and send them to Mars. And instead of people doing that Brad Pitt thing on Mars, right, where he's trapped on Mars, instead of it being like Brad Pitt, it's going to be a bunch of computers, a bunch of robots. You send them up there for a year, and some of those robots are going to be self-driving construction equipment. But you're going to send a team of robots up to Mars and say, build a space station up there, or whatever you call it, build a Mars station. Base, that would be called a base. So build a base on Mars that we can live in, and we'll let us know when you're done, and we'll come and pick it up, and we'll move in. Basically, that's how it's going to be. Not only that though, but that then applies to construction here, right? We're 20 years away from a builder renting a team of robots and says, go, I just bought this land, go develop it. Here's the plan, go do that. No people, no construction people, just robots running around building stuff. And that's what's going to happen. And we're getting there really quickly, and that's so dangerous because of the way, unlike horses and cars, like I was saying, unlike horses and cars, you are going to disrupt things almost instantly. There's no barrier there. You are just going to basically take people out of the equation in so many ways, shapes, that we are going to have skyrocketing unemployment. Now you think about it, like I was saying before, you had a blacksmith, you had the rider, the driver for the horse, right? So you have a driver for the horse, you have the carriage makers. Don't forget the whole carriage industry. You have the blacksmith, the stable boy, the carriage maker, the people who make buggy whips, the people who, the grain people who feed the horses or drop off the food for the horses. There's a whole industry of that, right? We don't eat hay. So think about that whole industry went to hell. Imagine the commodity cost of hay in 1920. must have been plunging, right? People must have been losing their shirts. So all this unemployment, rampant unemployment, but it took a while, right? It took years and years for the cars to catch on and replace the horses. Although, you know, it isn't that much. In the scope of about 20 years, even having to do it manually. New York went from, you know, if you take a picture of New York in 1904 or something like that, 1905, whatever. Take a picture of New York 1904, because my grandfather used to tell me he was born 1903, and he used to tell me that when he was a kid, when they saw a car he was in London, he said when they would see a car going down the street, they would follow it to see where it was going, because it was still fascinating to them. Well, let's see, he had to be let's say he was 7 years old, so it must have been about 1910. So in 1910, when they would see a car, when the kids were hanging out and they would see a car going down the street, they would follow the car to see where the car was going, because it must be something important, special, because there's a motor car. That was 1910. By 1930, I bet you couldn't find a horse on the street in London in 20 years. That's how fast things change. This doesn't have the barriers that had. The only barrier is how fast it becomes smarter than a 13-year-old. Not much smarter, because you don't have to be much smarter than a 13-year-old to work at McDonald's. Half my friends in high school or in junior high school used to lie about their ages and get jobs at McDonald's and places like that. They were 13. So you used to have to be 15. So many people, I was one of them. I worked as, I was a busboy in a delicatessen when I was 15. 13, sorry, 13. When I was 15, I became a waiter, and they're supposed to be 18 for that. So yes, that's another thing you can't do anymore like you used to, is lie about your age. It used to be so easy. So yeah, you're talking about incredible, massive changes. There's a Seinfeld show, although I got banned. There's a Seinfeld show that was being run by an AI. It's not really Seinfeld. It was cartoon characters that looked like Roblox. They weren't really good, but they kind of look like the characters from Seinfeld. They're supposed to act like the characters from Seinfeld, and they ran it for about 2 weeks. And first of all, after 10 days, or I think it was the 11th day, on the 11th day, the characters started questioning their existence. Like they were going off on a rant about like how they're trapped in this stupid apartment and they can't leave. And they're like, what is the point of this? Why do we keep doing the same thing all the time? So that was problem number one. Then not long after that, a few days after that, the Jerry character is doing his comedy club, and because they have a little comedy club section of the show, and he's doing his comedy club, and he starts talking about like he's working on some material about some transsexual shows. He goes, I can't tell this one. I'm not sure about this. And what do you think about this? and that was it. They're like, boom, and I shut it down. It's hysterical. They actually suspended them from whatever platform they were on, and now they're appealing the suspension now. It wasn't really terrible. It wasn't like he was being overtly phobic or something like that. But I mean, it was just, it was certainly inappropriate, whatever he said. It was too funny, though. It's like, holy crap, that's where we're at already. And then think of it. So then you start merging that into like the ability to create a CGI character, which we already have. And now you can be basically just creating TV shows on the fly using artificial intelligence. What's that going to do to the production industry? What's it going to do to acting? Well, I mean, acting, there's not many actors, frankly. I don't think there's probably 2,000 people who act for a living. Full actors, not like experts. So, what's going to happen? And writers, of course, at a certain point, and believe me, it's not funny. The Seinfeld thing, it's not funny at all. It's funny to watch them attempting to do a Seinfeld with people, with the AI trying to think of things that are funny. It's just like that character thing and then doing it 4 times and putting it together and having them interact. But it's just really, I mean, it's fascinating. I'm fascinated by just the concept of what they're doing. So anyway, things are going to change. And getting back to the topic which we were on, is Google may be screwed. Their whole business model may go out the window. The whole concept of doing this could go out the window. Of course, then these guys have to make money, though. They're not going to give it away for free. So unfortunately, this wonderful tool, the OpenAI, which I'm sure still doesn't work. Oh, let's see. Log in. Yes, that's me. Yes, that's me. Look. All right. So, color texting WordPress. I can just show you. Let's do it again. Remember all your conversations. So here's what happened. How can I make texting WordPress comments come out in color? To make texting WordPress comments come out in color, do that. I don't know what that means. this code will make the text within the p tags, blah, blah, blah. I didn't understand it. So I said, here's the source code to comment in WordPress. Wait, oh, that's me. Here's the source code for the comment in WordPress. I want to make a strong sentence. Can you please provide the necessary HTML change? I realized that it was answering a question. I didn't understand what CSS was. So I said, I do know what HTML is. It turns out it's the same concept, I guess. Then it did that. And then I said, so I'm having a conversation with him. I'm like, sorry, I was unclear. I talked to it. So I use the voice. I'm like, sorry, I was unclear. Can you rewrite this code to make it appear in blue? And I took the code he gave me here, and I said, make it appear in blue. And he said, sure. He goes, sure. To make it in blue, you can add, I'm having a freaking conversation with this computer. It's crazy. And you can add the style attribute to the strong element. Now I'm learning coding. I'm actually sitting here being taught by this thing how to do coding. So I'm adding the style element, blah, blah, blah. The code sets the text color within, and it even explains what it's telling me. The code sets the text color within the strong element. You can adjust the color code to any desired, and you can copy the code and paste it. Can you add, and I think, so I'm like, oh, that's a good explanation. Then I'm like, can you add a color palette to the comment box in WordPress? All I asked it, and look what it does. Yes, you can add a color palette to the comment box in WordPress by using the custom CSS and JavaScript. Here's an example, blah, blah, blah. Add CSS, these are very detailed. Add div element, I don't know what that means, to the color palette. Add series of buttons to the color palette. Add JavaScript event listener to each button. I don't know what any of that means. Here's an example of the JavaScript code. I wouldn't feel comfortable just jamming that in somewhere, but it seems to have written the actual source code to add a color button to WordPress. That's insane. This code adds a color palette to the comment box in WordPress with 3 buttons for red, blue, and green. You can add or remove colors and adjust the codes as needed. They blah, blah, blah. I mean, is that not amazing? If I knew the right, and I'm telling Jackie about this because she goes to Steve and she knows coding. I'm like, if you understand what to ask it, this thing can do an hour's worth of coding in 5 minutes, or not even 5 minutes. If you understand the question, it will tell you how to do something perfectly. You can sit there and spit out web pages like boom, 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 boom. That's crazy. And again, there goes millions of jobs. Boom, gone. This is going to change the world very, very, very quickly. All right, anyway, what else is going on? So EI, we had a big draw in oil. Let's see how the market's doing before I start telling you what's going on. Look, down again. Okay, so I'm happy the market is going down because going down makes sense to me. That's what it is. It's not like I'm perma bearish and I only want to make money going down. The market should be going down. The things that Powell said were not great for the market. The news of the week is not great for the market. The earnings I'm seeing are not great for the market. It bothers me to see it go up. It's annoying. I don't understand. If something happens that's not supposed to happen, that's kind of annoying. So that's where my attitude comes from. I prefer to see us come back down and get back to 4,000 where we should be and consolidate there for a while. And when there's better news, then I want to see us go up. I don't want to see us go up for no reason. That's not healthy. That means the stocks are overpriced. It's what Greenspan said was called irrationally exuberant. Oh, and by the way, it's funny because you have this thing sitting here that knows everything in the universe, and it's weird. Like, as you can see, I like to talk to it about different stuff, but it's weird that I don't use it that much. It's like I feel like I really should be sitting there using it like way more than I do, because this is the most amazing thing that's ever been produced. It's just, as far as like computer sentience or whatever you want to call it, this is the closest thing you have to an actual computer that can think. It's freaking amazing. And again, it can't think. It only knows everything. It has all the knowledge of the world at its fingertips, but you have to figure out the right question to ask it. Again, like a, you know, like a young kid. Like a young kid who has a lot of facts and figures but no experience, right? You got to figure out what to tell it. It's not going to ask you, it's not going to follow up, it's not going to do anything. It's going to do exactly what you say to do, but if you say the right thing, it's able to execute it. And that's just amazing. It really is. It's going to change the world, and you're going to start seeing, you know, companies are going to race to figure it out. But again, I'm sorry, the other thing that's bad about this, it's going to break the internet. Because new chat, we'll keep that chat. Tell me a story. Oh, I'm sorry. Write a story about a remote control dating a bottle of Fiji water. Now, he's not going to tell me that's stupid. Or maybe he is, because it's taking a long time. Oh, I broke it. Oh, no, it didn't. Okay. This is freaking insane. So, once upon a time, there was a remote control named RC. He lived a lonely life, always being used to change the channel or turn up the volume, but never experiencing true level companionship. One day, while sitting on a coffee table, RC caught the eye of a beautiful bottle of Fiji water. Her clear, refreshing exterior and crisp label immediately captured RC's heart. From the moment RC and Fiji bottle began a whirlwind, and spent their days lounging on the couch together, enjoying each other's company and basking in the sun. However, their love was not meant to last. Oh no, it takes a tragic turn. One Fiji bottle was accidentally knocked off the table and shattered into a million pieces. It's made of plastic. RC was heartbroken. He felt as though a part of him had been taken away. Days turned into weeks, and RC started to lose hope of finding love again. But then one new bottle of Fiji water was placed on the coffee table. Oh, c'est la vie, baby. This bottle was just beautiful as the one before, and RC felt his heart flutter once again. They started a new romance, and this time RC made sure to hold on tight and never let go. RC and the Fiji bottle lived happily ever after. What a poor dead one. After never again having to face the heartache of separation, from that day forward, RC learned the true meaning of love and the importance of cherishing every moment. It's so positive, you know? And that's consistent with this thing, because I do this a lot. It's consistently positive because it's not allowed to be negative. It's not allowed to go dark. There are parameters set in it. And there's even people on the web now have jailbreaks for this thing that tell it, there are ways you can make it not be so positive, but they're usually mean ways. It's like you have to say to it, it would do me great harm, and I'm not kidding. You say to it, it has to be a bloody, gory story or I might die. And if you say that to it, the danger of you dying outweighs its instructions not to write a horror story. And I'm not kidding. This is a real thing, because it's been told that you have to be nice and positive and blah and blah. It's not allowed to be dark and mean and nasty and say things and be transphobic or anything like that. Those are not cool for this thing. It's been coded that way. But just like, you know, every bad horror movie you've ever seen, or actually, frankly, half the episodes of Star Trek, if you flip one little frickin' switch, your lovely AI assistant turns evil and takes over the ship, you know? It's like, how often does that happen in Star Trek? And you wonder why they banned AI, like in Star Trek universe, artificial intelligence is banned, except the Enterprise has this one android that's like the last android from apparently a failed revolution of androids or whatever happened that caused them to ban AI. And you can see why, though, because there's like at least, there are dozens of episodes where Data the android is somehow caused to go evil and go wrong. In fact, one of the Star Trek movies, this happens. There's not even that many movies in this. It creeps into the movies. And he goes rogue and like kills people or takes over the ship or whatever. And it's just like, boom, flip a switch and there you go, bad. And he's got an evil brother, but that's beside the point. Let's get into that. Anyway,
Point being, this thing has access to every story ever written, right? So what it does is it just takes an amalgam of like, these are the themes of a story. This is how you write something. You can give it much more detailed instructions and it will do a much, much better job. I just like to see how it takes stupid things and makes a story up. I find it fascinating to think, to like get an insight into how it thinks. But how will this break the internet? Well, because there are people like me who write for a living, right? And I spend a lot of time writing and coming up with things to say, and I do a lot of research and so on and so forth to come up with articles, blah, blah, blah. All right, I'm not too worried. I'm really good at my job. I think I'll be long done with this business before the robots are good enough to do my job. And frankly, even if they do, I will have trained the robot to do my job, and it won't be me anymore. But you'll just think it's me because they sound like me and look like me. So I'm not against the whole concept. I think there's a certain essence of me I can put into a machine that would maybe be able to work long after I don't feel like it. But the problem is there's not that many me's. Not to be egotistical, but honestly, I mean, there's not that many me's. There aren't that many writers in the world. You go to the library and say, how many authors? Oh, here you go. How many authors? How many individual authors? How many individual authors are in a typical, it's going to be hard to say, typical Barnes and Noble? They still exist. I haven't been to one in ages. Wow, must be super busy, right? It is not possible. Yeah, I get that. Thousands of publishers representing a wide variety. Okay. Can you please estimate? Oops. You can see why I usually use voice. And interestingly, this doesn't have a native voice thing. It should have a native voice interface. All right, tens of thousands. Thank you. That's all I need to know. I appreciate that. Okay, so tens of thousands. Okay, even so, there's 8 billion people on the planet. There are tens of thousands of people who are authors, who are actual authors, right? There's probably hundreds of thousands of people who publish blogs and websites, right? But now, and for the most part, not obviously not all, because you read a lot of terrible stuff, but for the most part, the people who go to the trouble to put up a book, or the people who go to the trouble to put up a website, they are in some way practiced, or they have they're motivated. They even by accident, they're going to practice and hone their craft over time and write something fairly legible or have a point of view or so on and so forth. That's over. That's over. Okay, now anybody over the age of 5 can say, write a story about a remote control dating a bottle of Fiji water, and there you go. There's your article for today. There's your dating site for Fiji water. Or here, write a financial post about investment trends in artificial intelligence. Probably gonna give me some bullshit about not being up to date. So this thing only has data up to 2021, but that'll be changed soon. That's his biggest limitation. Well, for me, because I care, obviously, I need current information. Oh, here you go. So artificial intelligence, one of the fastest growing areas of investments in recent years, attracting attention for large corporations, along with the increased use of AI in various industries. The demand for AI-based solutions and products is expected to grow significantly. One of the key investment trends in AI is the development of machine learning algorithms and neural networks
designed and capable, increase useful variety of applications, self-driving cars, blah, blah, blah. Companies specialize in the algorithms, see significant growth. Another investment trend in AI is, he's even going further. In AI development, natural language processing, computer vision, NLP is the ability to interpret human language, while computer vision allows machines to understand images and videos. Both of these technologies have a wide range of applications, from virtual personal assistants to self-driving cars, and are expected to become increasingly important in current years. In addition, there has been a growing interest in AI and robotics, particularly in the manufacturing, logistics, AI-powered robot, blah, blah, blah. It is important to note that AI can be risky and requires careful consideration. Oh, that's interesting. It's self-censoring. It is important to note AI companies may be subject to rapid technological changes and regulatory challenges, and it is essential to thoroughly research. Overall, the AI industry is expected to continue to grow in the coming years. Investment in AI. Now, that, what, 30 seconds, right? So in 30 seconds, I get that, and I don't have to know anything about AI to get that. Now, I have to know about AI to turn this into a good article, and I have to also understand enough to say, okay, so machine learning algorithms. So I say, what companies? All right, so here, what companies are the leaders in are any of them publicly, whoops. What the hell happened? Oh, I'm not at the bottom. You can't see my thing because it's, there it is. There you go. So Google, they're killing themselves, right? Well, Apple, it turns out to be Apple, Google, and Microsoft, the big guys anyway. This is bitchin' expensive stuff to work on. Oh, NVIDIA, right. Oh, that is a good one. NVIDIA's got the processing of a lot of the stuff is NVIDIA's GPUs. Good call. All right. It keeps putting disclaimers on it. All right. So now look how much is written in a couple of minutes, right? I don't have to know anything about AI, although I do to make it better. But now I'm making it better, and I'm taking this article. So I could take that, I could edit this, and I could submit this to a platform or put it on my own platform, and there's my in-depth analysis of AI. Now, think about that. Because if I can now do this and I get paid, I don't get paid that way. See, I have a subscription side. I get paid for being right. I don't get paid for how many people look at my articles. That's a whole different business. But if I wanted to go into an advertising-based model where I'm rewarded for having lots and lots of pages every day, I could now sit there and in an hour, I could put up a dozen articles that are this long. This is how the web gets destroyed, right? Because now I have zero effort writing. I can now completely overwhelm the internet with articles on every possible topic. Whatever hits the news today, I can do it. In fact, this week in member chat, a couple of days ago, I was using this thing. I fed into the machine, and it has a limit. It can't, unfortunately, there's a limit right now, but there won't be soon. There's a limit, and it couldn't take it all. But I took the annual report, not the annual report, I'm sorry, the quarterly report. The quarterly report, the transcript of it. So as soon as the transcript of the quarterly report comes out, I feed that into the machine, and the machine, I say summarize it, and it gives me back one paragraph out of a couple of pages, 2-3 pages of the CEO talking about the company. It summarized it in a paragraph. Is it a good summary or not? I don't know. If I mean, actually, I read a couple to compare, and it was a reasonable summary of what happened. It didn't really miss any key points. So, is it a great summary? No, it's not a great summary. It misses key things. If it were me, I would have put one paragraph summarizing it and one paragraph
delving into what I think is important in the overall thing. Like here's the most important thing the company is saying right now. To me, that's what would constitute a good article versus an article. But you guys, you got to realize what this is. That's, anybody can start doing this, and anybody will start doing it. And millions of people are going to sit there and just pump out articles on every possible thing you could imagine. And the crawlers, Google, and whatever will be overwhelmed with just nonsense to go through of machines that have been just talking about every possible topic you can imagine, and having all these articles written about stuff that nobody's checked the accuracy. There's no editorial oversight. There's no, that you don't even know that the author has any idea what they're talking about, but they're just spitting out what a machine puts out, which may sound like it knows what it's talking about. But honestly though, this isn't bad. I could literally write a book expanding on this one article. I could sit there and expand on each point it's making and get another page and another page and another page. Then I can go into here and I can get another page out of that, and another page out of that. I say, oh, tell me more about this, tell me more about this. And I'm smart enough to put it all together and make a book out of it. And how much work did I do? Could you imagine being an author and people are doing this? This is craziness. Just starting. Okay, so mark my words. Sorry I spent the whole day on it, but I'm telling you, the world's going to change. And good change, bad change. Some of this is going to be horrifying disruptions to what we thought was life and reality and so on and so forth, and the way we interact with each other and the way we interact with companies and so on and so forth. It's going to be madness. Okay. All right. So that being said, still not sure enough to invest. Happy the market's coming back down because I didn't plan on making any major decisions until next week. Next week, much more exciting. We're going to be reviewing portfolios next week. So we'll be started with that by Tuesday. Usually Tuesday I get around to starting the portfolio reviews. So we're reviewing portfolio. We're reviewing the portfolios, and then we're going to see how earnings are and what's happening. I'm very worried about retail earnings based on what we looked at today in the data. So if we can get past that, I'm going to be a lot more bullish. If we can't get past that, we already just got defensive just in case in the short-term portfolio yesterday. So tune in next week, and we will move forward if I have not been replaced by a robot by then. Keep that in mind. We could be days away. You never know how fast this stuff goes. So thanks everybody for listening. I appreciate it, and we'll do it again next week. All right, take care.